Hey everybody, this is Professor Jason Snart. I'll be your instructor for our online English 2250 class, almost forgot the number, which is the Introduction to Creative Writing class here for the 5-week term, which is very quick in the summer session for College of DuPage. So I record a whole bunch of these videos, although most of them are actually of my screen, since as we move through the course, it helps, I think, to keep people on track just as I walk through kind of like what unit we might be in, what activity we're doing, you know, whatever's going on. But so you have a better sense of sort of like who I am or what's going on here and how noisy my fan is over there and how the sun comes right in through my window in the morning, which is kind of nice but not so great recording-wise. I thought I would do one just of me. Clearly unscripted, pretty informal, so nothing, these are never meant to be like lecture capture type things or something where you would take notes or learn important information that isn't already in the course. So it's really just a way of keeping sort of connected between you and I, you knowing that I'm like an actual person here, not some algorithm in a silo in Kansas, you know, grading essays and generating responses. Hey, wonderful work, Kevin. Whatever. That'd be a great invention. But anyway, so what I like about this course is that we get to do lots of really fun stuff, like make up stories about algorithms in Kansas in a silo somewhere that spit out random like student comments. I'll wait to see if someone picks that one up for our course. So anyway, so a couple of the things that I'm really concerned with in terms of people taking an online course, and it's not just creative writing, it's any kind of online course, is that without that sense of other people doing it, whether it's me as an instructor or your other classmates, it can feel sort of disengaged and isolating and not really that much fun. And so what you'll see kind of from me, but also in the activities in our course, and especially the way that we get started, is that I'm really concerned with people feeling kind of connected to the course in the same way that you would for a really good face-to-face class, where you're sort of like a little bit excited about attending class. We never want to say that exactly because it's not cool, but you know, you're interested in what's going to happen next, and you'll get to interact with people that you like, or meet some new people that I'm sure are great too. So I think it helps everybody if we feel, before we jump into like how do you write a great short story, is just so we get a little bit more comfortable with each other, knowing that we're real people, we're doing this together as a class, it's not independent study or some weird digital form of like correspondence school where you just mail stuff in and then my algorithm spits out those great comments. We're actual people doing this together. And maybe it is even more important for a creative writing class. I think it's important online generally. But for creative writing, especially the way our course is set up, it's really important to have a sense of community a little bit, and even a degree of trust in the people that you're working with. So our course is, because it's the intro course, we cover a whole bunch of different genres, but very quickly. So we do short story, we do poetry, we do creative nonfiction, but we don't really dive deep into any one of those. So you're not going to write, revise in any one genre. We tend to do a lot of first drafts, or like what you might call a middle draft, in each of those genres or various activities that we do throughout the course, and then we move on to the next thing, which is sort of like the nature of a survey course, if you want to call it that, which is what we're doing. It's important to note, though, that if one of those genres does spark your interest, or all of them maybe, that we do offer kind of like a next round of COD courses that are specific to poetry, which is what I teach, or short fiction, or creative nonfiction, and things like that. So there's lots of opportunity kind of beyond our course to take it in a little more focused direction, but for our purposes we move pretty quickly across a whole range of things. And as you'll see if you look into our units list over here in our course menu, our course is grounded in a series of workshops. So if you've ever done a writer's workshop before, probably face-to-face, everybody comes with a piece of work that they're doing, whether it's a story or a poem or whatever, and you provide copies to everybody in the group reads it and then provides comments back. That's the gist of it anyway. We'll do it in a much more structured way. And so you can imagine that it works pretty well face-to-face. Everyone gets lots of comments on their story about things that worked, things that didn't work, and then you share your thoughts to all those other people in the group. You have to be committed as a writer to providing that feedback. You can't just expect to get it and then not give anybody else that effort. But you can see how the face-to-face format works really nicely for that. It's sort of like a directed conversation. In truth, it works maybe even better in the online format. It might not seem so at first because we're not like right there in the room with each other and can have that back and forth dialogue. But what each of our workshops provides is you'll be working in a smaller group, so maybe like 3 or 4 other people. It's not a huge number. Everybody submits a short story or a poem or a creative nonfiction essay, depending on what genre we're working in. You'll see that all laid out in the course. And then you're responsible as a group member for reading all of those other ones and then providing that file back to the person with comments throughout. And again, I'll walk us through all of this in more detail as we get to it. But it's important to understand sort of like the basis for how our course works in terms of us feeling like a community of people. We're getting into groups. We're being sort of generous with our time and our effort. And also because we're being, critical or at least pointing out areas for improvement, it helps to have a bit of a relationship with people, to know that they're not just hidden behind a screen somewhere anonymously typing, this yet another story of yours sucks, way to go. My algorithm would never do that, right? So it's good to have a sense of like us as people engaged in this, in the study of creative writing, which is a fascinating area. I won't spend too much time on this, but often people think it's so disconnected from whatever career you're pursuing, or this is just a side thing, or you do this for fun, or it's a sort of escape. And it can be all of that, I guess, but truthfully, I think one of the most prized but under-recognized skills in the workplace, no matter what your job is, practically, in fact, the more money you make, the more this is true, is just basic creativity. Now, it might not come in the form of always writing short stories. You don't churn those out for your boss necessarily. But just being able to like creatively visualize solutions to problems. That's fundamentally what creative writing is. And I mean, I challenge anybody to convince me that that's not a core skill in just about every like money-making profession there is, whether it's teaching, entrepreneurship, right? That's all about creativity. Obviously things like marketing, the law, right? Across the board, it's fundamentally about creativity. It's not only about that, don't get me wrong, but rarely do we see a class like this connected to like a professional direction, even though I think fundamentally it is. Anyway, that's my own little thing. Okay, so again, welcome to the class. You'll notice that our first unit here, in fact, 2 of the most important links in our course are the due dates, since we moved together. This isn't like self-paced or independent study. And then, of course, the units, which is where all the work and assignment stuff is going to be. So I'm just going to click myself into the due dates. Give you a quick heads up that Thursday, June 2nd is our first due date, which is Unit 1, which isn't really about creative writing directly, but it's just getting to know each other. So you're introducing yourself via discussion board and also building a student homepage. It's really, really important that that homepage includes a picture that we can see right there on the screen, not as an attached file, but on the screen. Again, that's how we get to know each other as we get underway here. So you can be creative in what you write, but there's nothing really like content specific in our introductory unit here. We do turn around then to Unit 2 on Monday, so again, be aware that in the 5-week format we have lots of back-to-back due dates. And also note that discussion board posts are due by noon on the assigned due date at the latest. You can always do them a bit earlier if you have the time. And then replies to that discussion board will be due at the end of the day on the due date. So there's always a little gap between when we have to have those initial posts done and then when the replies can happen. It guards against so many people waiting until the last possible minute that our discussion is unfolding in like 11:55 p.m. That's not really beneficial for anybody. Okay, so definitely jump into that due dates link just to see like how they all lay out. You can see all the pieces, where the workshops fall and all that sort of stuff, how quickly we move as well. And then of course our units link will show you everything that we're doing, beginning of course with Unit 1. Again, be careful that there's 2 different assignments here. There's a bit of overlap and I'll explain why later. where you're creating your home page, but also introducing yourself via the discussion board. Be creative, not lazy. Don't just cut and paste from one to the other. That's lame. Even my algorithm would say that. And then there's a little orientation, or not orientation, but questionnaire for you to do, just so I get a sense of how comfortable you're feeling doing this class, if there's any kind of things we should talk about, or anything like that. Okay, let's see. I'm sure there's tons of stuff I've forgotten, but I'll get to that next time. So, welcome to the class. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always be in touch with me. Email's by far the best. I have a notorious habit of replying right away, no matter what the time is, since my phone is all synced up. Certainly take some time to get a sense of the course, kind of generally, click through some things, look for the textbook info, the big picture before getting too far into the weeds. Look at that due date link, same thing, get the big picture to see how it all lays out. And then when you're ready, jump into Unit 1. Be careful that you're working not slowly, but taking your time to read the instructions and do things carefully. Most of the grade for things like, especially that introductory piece, you're not writing the next great American novel. You're just following basic directions. So if you fulfill them, you've done well. If not, then you lose some points. Pretty simple. Okay, again, if you have questions or concerns, be in touch with me, and I will talk with everybody soon.